Wow.
So spooky.
Spooky.
This is the way. This is the way.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, welcome to What the Podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
And together we are
Ryan and John.
on the couch, as always, Cara Philly and Annie Skovman.
Hello.
I love the costumes today. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Let's go around the room and describe our costumes.
Starting with who?
Starting with Cara.
Well, I'm a crayon.
How did you come to this costume here?
You know, I was at Goodwill,
Yeah.
just thrifting, how you do. And they have like 2 full racks of costumes. Like full aisles of costumes. Because, you know, wear them once for Halloween and then donate your costume.
Sure.
Those are all of those. And this whole
See,
set
I feel
was at
like
Goodwill.
if I had purchased the crayon, I would have kept it. You know, it's kind of a cool.
Same.
It's kind of a cool, easy costume. You throw it on. Love it.
Did I already tell you what color it was?
No.
Purple.
Try and guess.
Purple.
Purple.
Out of the box.
I would say violet
Who knows?
or like periwinkle.
Well, violet's good because you think of like violet on a
You
crayon.
are a true mystery today.
But
Purple.
it is wisteria. Ooh.
Great.
Wisteria. The hat and all.
I knew it had to be
For the
something
life of me,
specific.
wouldn't have guessed that.
I would have never guessed it. Nope.
It's so fun.
I am the Mandalorian. I'm kind of doing Kylo Ren a little more, but
Yeah.
this is the way.
Very nice.
This
And you,
whole-
have you have a friend around
I'm
your...
sorry, I'm just going to demask myself for a second. Breaking Mandalorian
Oh
rule.
my gosh, is that right?
You'll get killed.
Is
Yeah,
that part of
that-
the Mandalorian rule? You never take
You
your mask
didn't
off?
watch that show?
Never.
Yeah, you take your mask off, you die.
Really?
Well, not die, but like
That's
you
kind
take
of
it
a
off.
trend in most shows where you
Yeah.
have to have a mask.
Yeah,
True.
you take off
Take
the
it off.
mask. They beat you up.
Oh, really? Wow. Interesting stuff.
So
And I got my
ugly that
little
they beat you up
my
if
little
you-
baby Yoda right here.
I know. So cute.
What is
So
the
adorable.
Yoda? What is it meant to be? A coin purse? Because there is a zipper.
He's got a little zipper on his back. I don't know where.
No, don't give away his secrets. Maybe Baby Yoda
where I
does
keep-
have just a
let's
secret
just-
power.
where
yeah.
I keep my special stuff.
Uh-huh.
Very nice. I am.
What are you, like
I'm
a
Dwight Schrute
Businessman or something?
from The Office, and I'm assistant regional manager, and I have
Assistant
complete with
to-
socks.
Assistant to the
to
That
regional
says
manager.
false. I don't know if you can see those in the frame. False.
wow.
On
Yep.
the back they say
Nice.
assistant to the regional manager.
Assistant
Nice.
to the regional.
And I got a mug as well. I full sent it only because I
Did you not
love-
already have that mug?
No, and that's why I bought it. I was like, I should have this mug
Yeah, you
just in
should.
general. But yeah, so
Nice.
Yeah, you're something of a Office fan.
yeah, and it came with its own pager too. Believe it or
Wow.
not. Not
Does it
real.
work?
Not real at all.
Fake pager.
If only.
Does it even beep?
No, doesn't even beep.
I used to have a toy pager when I was a kid. That's how you know how old I am. Is that it would beep.
Does that
Yeah.
really date you? A
Yeah, that
toy
dates
pager?
you.
Yes, it
Oh,
does.
if I had a toy pager that I would walk around and be like, oh, hold on, and like look at it.
did you have one of those?
1,000%.
No.
I didn't have one
I
of
thought
those.
my dad's pager was so
You're
cool.
actually younger than us too, which is
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
even more
Maybe,
weird.
but my parents are probably older than your parents.
It's tough to say.
Well,
Didn't your
That's fair.
parents have pagers?
my mom was
No, of
40
course
when she
they did.
had me.
No, they
Yeah.
had pagers,
So
but
they were a
I
little
wasn't
bit-
walking around with a pager.
Oh, I played with it.
going like, me, pager.
My parents always tell this story. Sorry, really quick, and then we'll get to your costume. Where they were like babysitting one time when they were like in their 20s or something. Maybe like 18, 19. They were babysitting for this couple that had kids or whatever, and they were out of town, but they loved it because this couple's car had a phone in it. And so they'd drive
Yeah.
around. It was like the first car phone
See,
they had
that
seen.
still is really cool
Before
to me.
cell
Yeah.
phones, obviously, they had like a car phone. And so they'd
There's
drive
no way
around and
that
call their
wasn't
friends.
so expensive.
Hey, what's up? Oh, yeah, we're just driving around in, the Johnson's car.
That is so crazy.
So
though.
crazy.
Like I know we have cell phones,
Yeah.
but that still is really cool to me.
I
Car
would,
phone.
if you
To have a
could
car
add,
phone.
Tesla needs to do this. If
Yeah.
you could add like an old school landline,
Yeah.
and if you could choose like cup holders or an old school landline,
I'd
and then
choose
while
that.
you're driving, be like, hold on, Hello?
That would be the worst though for like hands free.
You don't get it. It'd be so
It'd
cool.
be so cool. It'd be
Nah,
so worth it.
you gotta have it on the. Okay, Annie, go ahead. What's your costume?
I am. You don't know if you can see my name tag. I am. It says, "Hello, my name is student loan debt."
Yeah, what's funny is when you told us in the group chat that you were going to be student debt, had zero idea how you were going to do it. I was like,
It's pretty good.
I don't even know how she's going to pull it off. You nailed it. It's so good.
Yeah, I decided the name tags. I have 100 of these, so I got to use at least.
Why?
Why do you have 100? Yeah.
Well, because I was a camp counselor, and as camp counselors do, there's always a dress up day, and the theme of the camp was Western. So I had my whole cabin dress up as different versions of Kanye West from his song
Oh.
I Miss the Old Kanye.
Is funny.
He lists 13 and there was
Wow.
12 of us. So
Very creative.
That's very
And
creative.
we forgot to introduce someone on the couch
I
there.
don't like
This is
that needs to stop.
this
I
is
don't
what
know.
the
back.
baby.
I don't-
Okay, careful. Careful.
I don't get
careful.
it.
Baby.
I don't understand it. I don't know why
This is
she's
what the
here.
baby-
we go.
This is not what the baby. This is not becoming a thing.
This is
We're
the
not
thing.
making
Ryan,
this a
you can hang
thing.
it from your windshield.
Can I tell you, Ryan? I
That is the
almost
ugliest freaking thing I've ever seen.
I almost
His
gave
limbs
it to you
move.
as
That's
a
how you
gift
feel about
on
your
the
child?
show. Like I almost boxed it up and like tried to give it to you, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to traumatize him like that.
Moving.
Imagine
yeah.
just flip it
Hey,
over
my
a
child
box.
is not going to look like that. I'm just telling you right now.
I
What
mean,
the
no, I'll
baby?
tell you right now, right when they pop out, they don't look great.
I'll send it right
looks
back.
More like this than the
I will
normal
send
one.
it right back where it came
If your newborn
from.
baby is this small, that's
Well,
a
then it
tiny
already got-
baby.
it's already.
Well,
Well,
That's a small
some-
baby.
It's
It's-
maybe a little preemie, but
yeah.
Yeah, this is
You know-
definitely a preemie.
Yeah.
well, we got to come up with a name. So if you're watching the episode and you want to name what the baby,
What the baby sounds like
not.
a rapper. rapper name.
did
What
we
the
decide?
baby?
Did we
What the
decide
baby?
that it's female? Is it a she or a he?
Look at
in
it.
check
Definitely
under
a
the-
she.
Ain't got none there.
Or
It's a she.
Well,
Oh,
I
wow.
guess we could have
Hey,
just.
okay, we don't wanna
whatever.
get canceled.
Yeah, you psychos.
True.
We didn't show. We'll blur
Censor,
that out.
censor.
that is
All right,
the
well,
creepiest
name
thing
what
I've
the
ever
baby.
seen.
She's waiting for a name.
Please don't. Hey,
She'll be here all week.
Go on down to What the Podcast and just report this episode if you could. Just report
Get
it.
it
Get it
taken
taken down.
down.
That would be really helpful to me. Well,
That one hand.
another great week
That one
of
up there is
costumes.
spooky.
What's that?
Oh yeah, we got some
Spooky.
new
So
decor.
spooky.
Cat Penny
What?
came through,
Oh.
and she doubled down on her decor. So
I
Oh,
think
this
it
is
always comes
this is
through.
decorations.
yeah. Believe it or not,
Listen,
Okay, I thought just something.
something happened.
You guys
in
are
there.
just scrapping
no,
in here or
yeah,
something.
John and Jordan got in a real fight.
Yeah.
real rough.
But then Jordan scrawled "keep out" on the wall in her own blood.
super intense. Yeah.
Jordan, if you're listening, just call in right now. We'll
Hey,
talk about
Hey,
it.
she's
we forgot
not.
to.
Don't worry
oh,
about
we
it.
forgot to light it. Should I grab a lighter real quick?
Yeah, you're gonna need to.
It's going to go everywhere.
Kind of okay
It's
with the
gonna
fact that the infuser is not turned on.
Diffuser?
What is it
Ooh,
called? An
diffuser.
infuser?
Diffuser.
You called it
Infuser?
infuser.
An infuser.
Now I'm just confused.
Oh, wow, the
Ba-dum.
wind is going off today.
I'm still. Oh, we'll
'cause
see
the
if since
fan's
the
still on.
diffuser is off, if that one candle will actually melt.
You thought it was the diffuser not making it melt?
I think
I
it was
don't
a
know.
ghost.
It could have been the air.
you know
I think it was the alligator.
I honestly think it was the ghost of my
Can I tell
dead
you what
relatives.
I think it was?
What?
I think it's if the candles aren't perfectly level, they start to drip off the side like these, and they burn faster. I think this one is
Oh.
just like
Burning the way
perfectly
it's
90
supposed to.
degree,
Huh.
the way that it's supposed to. So,
Well,
nothing's
It was
proven, of course.
They're
She left
spooky
out.
Looking.
She's left out.
Perfect.
Was that you?
Anybody hear that?
Was that me? Ooh.
Is it still
Spooky.
is it still rolling over there? That
Yeah, it
sounded
is.
like a bad noise.
No, I just
Yeah.
it's the power. I turned it off. The power gets kind of weird. in there.
Zaboa.
Wow.
You know what I was saying? I was gonna ask you one thing.
Go ahead.
Are you the kind of person that likes to nail costumes like to the T?
Me?
Or just in general for everybody? Or is it like you have to like you get in the range and you kind of got it? Because what I felt like when I put on the Dwight Schrute is like my beard is obviously not authentic.
You were in
Yeah.
shave.
So I was like, and that's kind of what I'm going into like this Halloween season is like, do I shave like is it that critical? Like I'm not
Do
going
you
to shave or
commit
anything,
to the costume?
or do I find something that works with the beard to be like legit? You know what I'm saying? Because it's tough. Because I have a beard every other time of the year. you know
Yeah,
what I'm
it depends on your commitment level, I guess. If you're going for a costume that's like, I want to nail, yeah, I don't know.
It's tough, right?
Yeah. Last year, Cara and I were
I was gonna bring up the picture.
Hall and Oates.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
And
that's right.
So, but I shaved my beard because, was I Oates? Oates just has a mustache.
Yeah.
So
Hold on.
And sometimes you do just have a
putting it up.
mustache, though. That's
Yeah.
not something you.
lately,
are
I've been just
shying away
doing
from.
like stubble to beard.
Oh, here we go.
Hold on.
Okay, we're
I'm trying to
getting
switch it.
there.
I'm
We
trying
are
to
getting
switch
there.
it.
Switching.
Wow.
She going? Yeah, remember, it's delayed too. So
There we go.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. Here we
Let's
are.
see.
So that was the edited picture. That was us. And that's actually them.
So good.
So that's
Really
them.
good.
And then
Cara with the wig was probably the best part.
Very, very good.
Ryan kept calling me Princess Di.
It's
Sure.
very good.
So, and obviously this one is not like to the T either, but if you can do a
hello?
little,
Pretty good.
It's
yeah,
pretty-
okay,
it's pretty
it's pretty
to the
good. It's pretty good.
Hello?
I'll say his mustache was a little fuller, but that's not on you.
Well,
man.
Little
That's
bit.
not
I
on
mean,
That's on
what can you
genetics,
do?
you know?
What can you
Just
do?
a little. You did fill in your mustache though, and your eyebrows.
You, oh my gosh, you filled those in?
Fill those bad girls in.
That's
You got to do
commitment.
it.
Funny.
Commitment. I love
That
that.
is commitment to the bit.
So there's that one.
So in that, and so cut to obviously my costume today is not. I mean, this is full sending. If you've
Yeah, I
ever,
mean,
Well, I
that's
think that
true.
fits you perfectly.
yeah, it.
Whoa.
This is a child's costume.
Yeah,
that
I want to
paid-
know what your thought process was buying a
Gosh.
child's costume, thinking that you were gonna just like
okay.
slide it on.
I'm gonna be honest. I bought it for the mask mostly.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I was like, this is pretty
So you-
sweet.
you weren't even
I saw a
thinking.
little baby Yoda. You know, I'll figure out. You know, hey, it says kids costume, but it
Those
can't-
things are
We're
stretchy.
all
They'll-
kid
they'll
at heart,
stretch
you know.
Uh-huh.
Turns out it's not as
He pulled the
not
costume out, and it
stretchy.
was like,
tiny. It was,
I was like, wow, that
for
is so small.
Not the child. This is a baby's costume.
Are you still sharing the
managed
screen
it.
because you're
I managed
slowly
it. Oh.
scrolling through your Instagram?
I am. I'm trying to find the Halloween.
She's not.
I'm trying to find Halloween
So everyone's
pics.
seeing the Instagram feed at this
No.
point?
No, no,
okay.
Just showing off. At
This is just
point.
you guys are seeing it.
Just like 10.
What was another Halloween one that
What
we
was your best
had?
Halloween costume?
Oh, that's hard. I'm the person. I do like lazy Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
So it's like I'll go full send, but it's got to be convenient for me. Like Monica Lewinsky, student loan debt.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm
It just
going out and
works.
buying pieces.
You like the funny bit.
Yeah,
more.
it's got to be like a kind of a clever bit. Like when I was working at a church, I was a Hume staffer, and Hume is a big Christian camp.
That's pretty funny.
And I I already had
pretty
everything down to like the radio and like the Hume T-shirt and
Yep.
like everything about it. Like walking around with my Bible and a giant oversized water
That's
bottle.
pretty
like,
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, so it's like just a funny
Giant
bit.
oversized water bottle. That's pretty good. What about your
Eliza
Ryan?
Did you
Best
cut
and
year?
Hamilton.
Is it on screen?
No,
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know if you're showing it or not.
I'm not.
What year is
You're
that
showing
from?
us.
That was
2016.
Yeah, that was
2016.
when Hamilton came out, right? It was-
Wow, yeah,
Just
that's,
about
that
that
was
time.
cutting edge, man.
Yeah.
Tell you what.
It was
Yeah,
that.
that's
What's your
pretty
best
intense.
year?
That's a good costume.
Ryan?
Yeah, that was pretty good. It's hard to remember sometimes.
know.
I'm like trying to think back.
All Notes is pretty good though.
All Notes was pretty great.
Yeah.
We usually do the couples costumes.
Yeah.
We did a Tina and
Oh,
the
we were Bob's
Belchers.
Burgers one year. Yeah.
and I
that's
can't
good.
I
find
was
that
Bob.
picture.
Nice, very nice. Cara, best costume?
Oh, I don't know. I am the person who goes full out
Same.
or get out.
I think I would
go.
honestly
There we
land
go.
in the Annie camp of like convenience, but also like
Cleverness.
Yes, cleverness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to make a costume versus
Uh-huh.
like buying something. I remember when my senior year of high school is the one year that I like went all out, and I did for school. I dressed up as like our school officer.
Oh, that's
On-site
funny.
officer. So we like went to like a military supply and got like the sheriff shirts and the green cargo pants. And like I even had like a utility belt, and we didn't have like anything in it.
Nice.
And he even got us like the sheriff patches, and we sewed them onto the sleeves and everything. So it looked like almost a little too legit.
Yeah.
Like I would not feel comfortable wearing it now, because now it's like if I went out in it, I would be just afraid that like people would get the wrong idea.
Yeah.
It's not like fake enough.
Yes.
So, but it
you
was
just
really
look
good.
like you dressed up like a police officer. Or
Yeah,
something.
and so it was like it was really funny because we were in high school and we were obviously kids.
Yeah.
But now it was,
Yeah.
and then that year for like Halloween, I did Willy Wonka, the Johnny Depp version. So I bought like the legit costume and had it like tailored
With the wig.
and with the wig and everything and the big
Wow.
glasses. And then I got the cane that he has. I got it from Etsy. I'm so embarrassed how much money I spent on this costume. But I got the actual cane, and it was filled with nerds, and the top came off, and you could like pour nerds out. I still have it, and the top is like a little spiral ball.
Wow.
But that was the last time I think I ever did like a legit Halloween
That's
costume.
embarrassing.
The only time that I didn't do
Embarrassing.
legit was probably in college. Like the Hamilton, we went pretty full out. But before that, we did like vampires and we had like contacts.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
I had
fun,
red
though.
eyes, he had white eyes. And then like I was Wednesday Addams in college one year. But then there's one year where, was it Halloween or was it just 80s when we did Breakfast Club?
Oh, that's good.
I think that was for
Was that an 80? Just
a
an
costume
80
party.
for Halloween though, right? Or was it just someone's costume party?
Yeah, it was just like a birthday party. I think.
Oh,
love that.
that
Thanks
one
for
I went
that.
full out.
Yeah.
I don't
on
know.
my
It's
costume
fun to
that
build
one.
one, you know?
Yeah.
Like I had a lot of fun with the Willy Wonka because it was like
Like tracking down all the pieces.
I have a
and it was
YouTube
a lot of
video.
money, but like I remember like putting it together and feeling really proud of it. And
Yeah.
I still have it somewhere, but it was a lot of money. I remember calculating. It was like, oof. It was
I have a
pretty
YouTube
penny.
video of last minute costumes. I don't remember how many I do. I do think I do like 18. Or like I think it's 25 actually.
Nice little plug there.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna plug your YouTube. Go ahead.
So just check the link below.
Cara.
Apparently,
Cara Philly YouTube.
it is actually in the
I have
description,
last minute Halloween costume
to
ideas.
be fair, we plug my YouTube pretty much every week. So
It's true.
I know, yeah. Well, true.
so
Year of yes. You know.
so hey, it's an entire year of yes.
What?
I've been a
That's it.
cat before.
I feel like every girl's done that.
It's been a cat.
I think
years.
I think
I didn't even have a costume last year. I didn't even do Halloween
Yeah.
last year.
I
Wow.
think the best kindergarten.
was on a
I was
Saturday.
spy
Oh no, it
kid.
was last year.
And I worked. Yeah.
You were a spy
I
kid
was
in
a spy
kindergarten?
kid.
Dirty.
Didn't do anything.
And my parents just dressed me in black
I've
sweats.
heard about the
and my dad
Pennings,
made me
the
a
Pennings
jetpack.
Halloween party,
Nice.
and I've been so excited to go to it, and I've never actually been to the
It's
Pennings
fun.
Halloween. So
Oh, they
this
didn't tell
year is
you?
my year. I
This
took
could be
Monday
your
off,
year.
so I'm.
Oh,
It's
you
on a
know
Sunday
what?
night.
They're not gonna have it this
They're
year.
not gonna have
Oh
this
yeah,
year.
yeah. That actually tracks.
Sorry,
So-
bud.
Yeah, they didn't tell you
Literally-
that.
Oh, embarrassing
awkward.
for
Yeah,
you. So don't
Thanks,
show up
Kat.
because there won't be a party.
Don't show up because I won't be there.
No.
I definitely won't be there.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Well, great. Well, what's going on?
Should we jump right into our
Good old fashioned
topic?
podcast. Yeah. Hey,
Good old fashioned podcast.
everybody's talking about Squid Game.
Squid Games.
Ooh.
And was it yesterday that we sent out the text and we're like, if you want to talk about Squid Games, you need to watch. And you like,
I binged the whole series.
Whole series.
I'll be real too. I got 2 episodes in, and I fast forwarded a lot of the parts where I was like, okay, I understand what's happening. Fast
What?
forward a little bit. Like no, but like the parts where it's like obviously he's sad and
Yes.
his life is
Okay,
Oh,
wait.
yeah.
Like-
So pause for a second
So
here.
the whole second episode, pretty much.
We're going to be talking about Squid Game, this new Netflix series. If you haven't seen it yet,
Spoiler warning.
major spoiler.
major
alert.
spoiler
you
Yeah.
should
warning.
Even
probably
watch
just skip
it.
Honestly,
the
skip this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't watch.
Because we're
it.
going to talk about, because we're all pretty hyped about this
Yeah.
show.
we're going to
Super
get
hyped.
into it.
We're going to get into it.
I also binged it. I watched 2
So,
episodes like
spoilers
a week
starting
ago.
now.
I watched 2 episodes a week ago because Emma
You know
was
that
like,
wasn't
watch
on
it,
you.
watch
Yeah.
it.
What-
And then
you know that camera
yesterday
was not on you at
I
all.
Oh,
watched.
hey, Cara, can you cut to my camera real quick? Spoilers starting now.
I watched all the way to episode 7 yesterday. And then right before this, I finished the last 2.
Oh yeah.
I
see,
got 2 episodes in and I started taking notes on my phone. I was like, I don't want to think about
for
this.
me, it was just a nonstop. Like, I couldn't get
It's like a
away from the screen.
movie.
I was like fully hooked.
See, I think I started it off as like this was my chore, my homework before the podcast. I have to watch this thing, and I'm someone. It's hard for me to get into like fiction stuff
Yeah.
if there's not any sort of element of like
Truth.
It's or like a
Reality?
not even a reality, but like a commentary on like this world of today. And so the first couple episodes, I wasn't
it.
seeing that, and I was like, ugh. And then once I started understanding it, I was like, ooh. And I went from like fast forwarding to like rewinding and be like, wait, what did they say? Oh no, I need to
How
hear
does this
it.
tie in?
I didn't sleep last
So
night.
if you're still watching and you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna watch Squid Game.
Perfect. Let's
We're
tell
gonna, we're
you
gonna
about
Or you
just
watched it.
we're gonna describe it to you, recap it briefly. Here is Squid Game is about all these people that are down on their luck in South
In
Korea.
debt.
They're in debt. And they basically get approached to be a part of this game. They don't really know what's going on. And so They go to this discreet hidden
All they know
location.
is they will win money by playing games.
Yes. And so they
Childhood
go and they start playing all these childhood games, but the caveat is if you lose the games, you die.
Yes, you get
It's so
shot.
interesting because the first game was like,
Oh my god!
it's like red light, green light, which I think
Yes.
is, and that's obviously
Pretty universal.
A child,
Well,
child game in Korea. But
What surprised me is how they play it different. Like they have a special song, so everyone knows when to stop.
Yeah.
Because the song is just, it says red light, green light, stop. Where here it's like green light.
Yeah,
Wait,
that did not come through in the translation for me.
Really?
There was no song. It was just like red light, green light.
Oh,
I
you
watched-
need to listen to the song.
I never heard the song. There was no song.
I'm gonna look it
Okay,
up.
so this is the first
Ryan, you
thing
can play it
you've
on
done
piano.
wrong. What's up?
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. You can.
Dun.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
go full send here.
Heck
Let's
yeah.
hear it.
Well, I don't know the words.
That was
Are you gonna
That
pull
was
it up on your phone?
But
Yeah, I am.
While you're pulling that up,
So to talk about that is you watched it with the English dubbed in
Yeah.
voices. Did you watch it with that too?
Yeah, I didn't know you could choose.
I didn't know either until halfway through, and I stuck with it. Apparently,
this
you can
it?
switch to Korean with English subtitles, or you can do.
and I heard-
it's like just Korean. I guess.
So when I first heard about it, that's how all my friends were watching it.
With
See,
the
Is
Is they're
dub.
like, yeah, you have to read it, but it's like really good.
Yeah, so that's how
I
me
was
and
just
Cara both
watching.
watched it with the Korean
Yeah.
actors' voices with the English subtitles.
It was very strange to have very Americanized voices
Yeah.
coming
it was
through Korean
my
people.
favorite part about it.
God,
So
it's
funny.
The dubbing
goofy.
was so good. Like unless you were truly watching their lips, like they matched the timing very well.
Oh, the timing, yes, but I thought the voices,
Which
were
that's really
super
hard
dramatic.
because
It
that
was
Yeah.
like-
that language is only like one word is like two symbols. Or how many syllables.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
don't have as
I
many
highly
syllables.
recommend going back and watching it with
Sounds
no
like I'll
dubs.
have to,
You're
so-
gonna have to because it really and then the giant doll head turns around.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't get
Oh,
any
you
of that.
You missed that.
So they didn't.
Yeah.
And you didn't get any of that either, right?
No, it's probably because they couldn't translate it into English.
So everyone knew when to stop all the time.
Yeah, but
But
when
it's
you're-
sped up.
But yeah, but
At
think
some
about
point.
when you're like
Oh,
your
at the very
life's in
end, yeah.
danger. It's not even necessarily about sitting still. It's like you're
Yeah.
probably like shaky,
Shaking.
just
Yeah.
nervous. Like they were all like,
Ugh.
that. So yeah, basically, like you said,
Yeah.
if you were in debt, you got offered to come. You basically sign away your rights,
And these
uh,
people weren't just in debt. They
were
were
like-
like,
Their lives are on the edge
oh
of
my,
Yes.
like a guy
much.
he embezzled like millions of
He's
dollars.
like contemplating suicide,
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, then the
like
game.
and it's like
So sad.
your whole life's on the edge. So it's like
Yeah.
people who have it together right now, but tomorrow it could fall apart. So that's when they came and got him.
What I thought was interesting when they started playing the games, and like I said, and I thought this was how it was done every time, but it sounds like every group of people that they do this, they kind of slightly change it. Because towards the end, the VIPs were talking about like, oh, the game from last season was
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. So they do
Yes.
change it. But this one was strictly childhood
Did you
games.
notice at the end? Well, it was throughout the whole thing. I noticed in the first episode that all the games they would play were on the walls of
Where
the
they
room
very
slept.
last
staying
episode, I
in.
only realized, when all the beds
Well,
start
the
to
beds
go
have-
I'm
away.
surprised they didn't highlight that.
So I noticed
the
it episode
series.
1.
Really?
Because I saw
You saw the stick
Squid
figures.
Game. Well, I saw the Squid Game on it, and I was like, oh. So
The
that-
court, right?
Yeah, the court. And then
Uh-huh.
I started noticing that it was stick figures.
Then you see the
who
star
are
and the
playing all the
umbrella.
different games.
Uh-huh.
And so, I mean, that room held everything they needed to know for what games they were
was
going
But
like
you
all
didn't
right
see
there on
it
the walls.
because you only saw it at the end because they kept taking away the dead people's beds.
But
Well,
they
because
were, but it
there
was
was-
there the whole time.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
started with 456.
yeah.
And each
It
of
was-
them, each of their lives, which like that's something that comes out through it, is the money they win is blood money.
Yes.
It's the money that you pay with your
I
life.
tried to see, like, count how much would fall when one person
was like
died,
a
and it was
million.
something like,
no, they tell
because
they
at
told
the
you.
end it's 500 and or
It
it's
was like-
456 billion.
I think it was like
whatever,
five
Won.
million
It was 10 million won, I'm pretty sure.
each.
per person.
Yeah.
But 10 million won is only 1 million.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
at the end. Did you guys like calculate how
I
much?
totally did. Yeah.
The whole time I was like, how much one
Well,
is
it
that?
was like
It's only
47 million.
At the end, it's only like $40 million or something.
Okay,
But
which,
then, like-
only
Mind you,
for
I've
one
never
person.
seen that much
Yeah.
money in my life.
Yeah, and nor
But-
probably will you ever. But-
Okay,
unless-
How dare you?
Disrespectful. Okay.
First of all,
Thank you,
no,
Albright
false.
Entertainment.
Okay,
Yeah, hey.
fine. Maybe we will.
There were so many
Assistant
characters.
to the manager.
Hey, I'll see you in the Squid Game.
All right.
There were so many characters that made me like.
That was so
Shudder.
interesting because in the beginning it was like, you know, they all were like, "This is crazy," and and what I wasn't expecting is that they ended the game after round one. They're like, "If we all
can't
vote,
do this."
Same.
we're done."
Me too.
Now that to me is like the most telling part, and like where it started to get really interesting because they all choose to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well, it's the
93%.
desperation of people. It's because
They're
they're
like,
not
they're
that
like,
cusp.
Maybe
Well, they go back and see how.
their lives suck. The second
Yeah.
episode's
Well-
literally called Hell.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I remember the number. It was 93% return rate because
Uh-huh.
they were
Yes.
like calculating
Yeah.
that.
Some people didn't because
Right. Some
people
they
didn't.
they ended the game. Everyone gets sent back into the real world, and then there's like a week or so that passes or whatever.
I think it was like 27 people.
Yeah,
That didn't
and,
come back.
And you're seeing these people. It kind of cuts to their lives just falling apart, and their lives are getting worse and worse. And you know they're more strapped for cash, and everything's. They come back, and like their phones start blowing up with all the messages of what they've been missing, and
like
you know
loans,
everyone's
yeah.
coming after them and looking for them and everything. And when they come back, it's because they had like nowhere else to turn.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was interesting that like they totally were okay with sending him out because they had this false idea of like, oh, well, they'll come back because this is their only option now.
Yeah.
It was so weird because I remember it ending and being like, I was not expecting this at all because I thought like once you were in, you were in.
Yeah.
Like, and I thought that was kind of probably one of the clauses, like once you sign to get to play.
Yeah.
till
But then
the
it
game's
says
over.
majority rules.
So it's like
and
so
then
interesting.
But then that comes back later because
Yeah.
when there's only like 20 people left, and that one guy who loses his wife is like, let's end it. Like, come
Oh,
on,
that was
guys.
so
and they're like, no, we've
sad.
come so far already.
by
was so
far the saddest, like the biggest turn for me was in game, I think 4 or 5. It was 4. Where they have to pair up, and mind you, they tell you to team up before you know what it is. So like there was a team of 10, and that was obviously like a work together situation. It was tug of war. So they go into the mindset in game 4 of like, oh, you're
We need to
choosing a
work
team that
together.
you trust. So it was pairs of 2. So they all pair up all their friends, and they're like, we're gonna get it. And then all of a sudden it was like, you have to play each other
Marbles.
and
Yeah.
marbles, and then one of you comes out, and you just like, it was like the most dramatic, and it was also shot really well because you just like they didn't say anything, they just like, but you could read it on their faces, just like
Freaking.
It was shot so well.
crushed.
It was like Wes
Yeah.
Anderson meets, like it was just so
Yeah,
The
a
shot
lot
set.
of
so
the like
well.
stagnant
Yeah.
shots.
the
Yeah.
sets were cool.
Yeah.
Freaking Song Woo,
Who's that?
the traitor, who freaking gave Ali rocks.
Oh yeah, that was sad.
And that's the thing
Well,
too.
he
is
even
you-
says it at the end. He's like, I'm doing what I have to do to survive.
win,
He's like the
yeah.
shark, you know?
And if you think about it, he was like that from the beginning.
Yeah, because he
in
knew the second. He knew the
in the
second
honeycomb,
game.
he let that other guy take the umbrella, and I think it also seemed like that the main guy was kind of realizing that because he did
Oh,
like a
yes.
little cutback. He was like, wait,
Okay, so there were
he
a
tried
couple.
to stop me.
There were a couple. I don't know if I'm really picky at like continuity.
Yeah,
that
sure.
I found in like
Really?
TV shows and movies. So I was trying to figure out if it was just how it wrote, like how he just never addressed that. Like they kept like some episodes when he found out like, oh, he's being shady, but then some it was like, you're my teammate.
Well, I think there's also.
I think there's
element-
also different
Ji-hoon.
levels intelligence too. Like
Well,
the main
there-
character was
Yeah.
kind of like,
They were childhood
Space Cadet.
like.
Well, that's
best
the whole thing
friends.
because he's like, he holds bitterness for him.
Yeah.
Because he went to like this fancy
And
college.
he was
like-
successful.
and he like helped him from what I understood in the beginning is like he helped him get to that
Yes.
college, and then he took off and
It's like the
from
star
what
of
he
the town.
understood. Yeah, is he
Yes.
like made all this money and he was so successful, and then they end up at the same place where it turns out he's in ruin too.
So it's everything
Yeah.
he's everything he wants to be, but he's also jealous of him.
But
you
like
know? So
I'm,
it kind of
I'm
like,
wondering why they never had Ji-hoon approach him and be like, you
how do
knew.
you know the names? I literally.
Yeah,
can't
I was
remember
having a hard
now.
time tracking the names
Ji-hoon
too.
was the main guy. Song
Okay.
Woo was the star.
Yeah,
I can't remember the girl's name.
doesn't matter.
It was really pretty, but I can't
super
remember it.
pretty.
But I wonder why they never had, like, even at the very end.
If you notice,
he
though,
does.
the whole
Address
time
that.
he goes, "This is the guy. He went to business
I
school
know,
the
I
whole
know.
time."
Because it is
Every
like
kept-
he wants him, like he wants success for him, but he's also like really jealous of him.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when he's talking to his mom at the
Yeah.
shop, and you know.
Also, for continuity wise,
Go ahead.
I was wondering why when they came back, like, 93%, the, like, main guy was like, oh, go check on those people who didn't come back. They never cut to
So
There's
them
a lot.
checking
Well,
on them.
I don't know if that's
Well-
a continuity thing as much as just like
Didn't
it's
have
not that
time?
relevant.
No, I
Or
just
is
I think
it
I
that
think
they get
there's
a chance to play
yeah,
again?
Yeah, I think they're just looking into it. It's probably like protocol, I imagine, in the game too. It would be weird if they weren't following those people. I
Yeah.
feel like, but the
Yeah.
big the first like symbol I saw was the floor of where the main guy stands. All of their faces are on it.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
immediately like below them.
Yeah.
like
Yep.
immediately. I was like, wow, that is
Yeah.
so incredible. Like that shot.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
that as soon as they
Well,
established that, I was
So
like,
let's
I know where
let's
this
get
is
into
going.
that is because
Yeah,
this show
symbolism.
has a lot of symbolism. The show has a lot to say, and just like right off the bat, like what were some things you guys noticed that really were like it seemed like, oh, this is what the creator of the show is trying to say. Like that's their voice.
It was like a whole view of equality,
Mm-hmm.
and like I almost think it's like this given equality. Like that's one
Yeah.
of the things they say.
Yes.
Because you have, I mean, and we didn't really talk about it at the very beginning when they first contact you to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
They play a game and they have you choose red or blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the game, like once you get to this area, the people who are contestants are in these blue jumpsuits, and then the guards are in red
Yeah.
suits.
I
And
saw
so
this theory,
it's
yeah.
almost this kind of idea of like, and throughout it, you find out that the red guys like are also kind of being kept there. If you take your mask off, you're gonna get killed.
Oh my
you have
gosh.
to follow rules.
There's a tier system, and it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was like squares. If you have a square, you're a manager. If you're a triangle, you're a soldier, and then if you're a circle, you're
just
just
like-
like a
Yeah,
A
like a
helper.
worker.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering
Yeah.
if
Like move the
season
coffins
2,
around and stuff.
because there's definitely going to be a season 2. I'm
don't
wondering
think so.
if
You don't think
What?
so?
I don't think so.
I don't think
With
so.
that
I think
ending?
it was a one-off.
there were so many questions
said-
though, like
said
how
It
did
said-
they get those
it said
kids to be their
everything-
workers?
It said everything it wanted to say.
Because they took off
well,
that
they
kid's
weren't all
mask.
they weren't all kids.
Yeah, but they took off that kid's mask and were like, "You're just a kid,"
Yeah.
and then he dies.
But that was the only one
you don't
that
know
they
that.
showed. Well,
But
you're right.
it
But
wasn't
later
like,
on,
it wasn't
like
like specifically
Yeah.
kids. It was like there
Yeah.
were some kids.
that's why I
some
thought it
adults.
was going. But then later, it's like there was adults that were
It could have just been
selling
kids strapped
organs.
for
So
cash.
yeah
this-
selling organs,
That
which is the whole
side
other.
tangent was so interesting.
I loved it because it started to like peel back, like you're saying, like the layers of like, oh, the workers are there, but they're also being sketched. Like they're not just a part of the machine. Like they're
Yeah.
also just trying to get by.
That
you
was
know?
also weird.
and
That
so,
was
like,
weird.
At one point, when one of the workers kind of steps out of line,
Mm-hmm.
the like head honcho that you're first introduced to, this guy in this black mask,
The front
in the
man?
suit, yeah, the front,
front
man.
man?
His
geometric
gives
mask.
this little moment of like, if you take it off and you show your face, like this is equality.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're here to make this place as equal as possible. Everything's at equal level.
You ruin it,
know,
yeah.
and you ruin this equality.
Ugh.
When in reality, it's like there is no equality. It's this false sense of equality. They're preaching
Yes.
equality when that just does not exist.
and it's so interesting because it is like it literally they made a whole stink about how like the doctor, so we find out the doctor is like working with some of the workers to like harvest these organs of the
Yeah,
dead
to sell
bodies
'em on the black market
yes
kind of vibe.
and the front man makes this whole scene of it is like we only like the game is equal for everybody.
Well, they show all their
basically.
dead bodies and like where they're walking to the game space.
But
Because he
we
was
find
getting-
out that they intentionally give them less food so they start fighting
Yes.
against each other.
Yeah.
Like they're pitting each other like against so that they like bring the
Yeah.
numbers down.
That night
That's
was
part of the
crazy.
game. That whole night is
Yeah.
like so it's like
that sounds like a legit nightmare to
well,
me.
and that's what made me think of the Stanford prison experiment,
Uh-huh.
which I don't know if
Oh,
you've
I've seen
ever
it.
heard of that.
Yes.
In 1971,
Yeah.
it was this experiment done by a Stanford professor for psychology where he gave a group of students in one class over summer for 2 weeks. Half of them had, striped shirts and they were the prisoners, and half of them had orange shirts and they were the guards.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically, like, they had basically 3 simple rules, and it just divulged into
Yep.
that exact setting of, like, when you give
I'm
people
your
just...
boss.
Yeah, you
Well,
give
it-
people
it
slight
became-
power, and they just, like,
Interesting.
take it to this extreme where it's been, like, it's considered, like, a huge,
Yes.
win in the understanding of psychology, but it also has been, like, those people who are a part of it have spoken out about how it has tortured them.
Like they didn't tell these people how to act. They didn't say like, oh, you have to beat up the prisoners or something.
Yeah.
But that's just what
Just how it
ended
came
up
out.
happening was like these they're basically just students.
They're all peers. They're in the same class.
But then they were like, oh, I'm given authority over you. And so they were like beating up the
Yeah.
prisoners. They were like taking
Jeez.
advantage of them.
Yeah, the
like,
prisoners are like making deals against each other. They're pitting each other against each other, and like trying to get good with the guards. And at the end, it's just like the end of this 2 weeks. They just figured out that if you leave people their own devices and you give them one little separation,
they just
Yeah.
like
it divulges
Crazy.
completely.
So that's totally what it is. Like we get to talk about the class war.
Yeah.
There we go.
Before you get into that,
Okay, go ahead.
This says, according to Squid Game director, he chose to name the show after the Squid Game because it was the most physical kids game of the time, and for him, it was the most symbolic children's game to represent the kind of society we live in today.
Because it is.
Yeah.
It's like the separation of two different, the
By a-
offense,
a
the
line
defense,
in dirt.
and then I have to get to this point, and it's like at any. He literally says like there's no rules there's no limits to the violence that you can use. Like
Yeah.
you just got to get there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like or stop somebody from getting there.
It's like a different version of capture the flag in the sense that you're protecting this one spot, and the other team's whole goal is to get to
or
that
like
one
Red
spot.
Rover or something.
Yeah.
Like just so.
Oh my gosh! So I'm reading translations
Okay.
on Reddit.
Okay.
So number one, who is the old guy,
Yep.
in Korean, his name is Oi Nam.
Okay.
It's translated as 0. E means one, and Nam means male.
What do you mean? Okay.
So Oi Nam, his name is literally 01 male
Oh, because that was
because he lied about his name.
Oh, so he called himself the number one
Yes.
guy, which he literally was.
Right,
Yeah.
he was number one.
That was the whole thing too. I mean, that's a big spoiler.
Oh, so this is the standard of Squid Game's value is one human life is 100 million each. Dang.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Wow.
But
So
the class war.
that's my whole thing is
That's just your whole thing
the
in general.
game. That's my whole thing.
That is my whole bit.
The game is made up by not even the workers, because the workers are like in on the game too. They're enforcing the game. We're gonna call the game what it is here, the American dream, right?
Yeah.
The hustle.
Yeah, it's
You got to make it. You got to have
you're trying to be rich.
a certain amount of money. When in reality, the elite, the front man, they're like hosting this game for
Yeah.
the people that can afford it.
Well, and then I think it's so interesting too, this like talking on the class war.
Yeah.
They talk about equality and this is, equal for everyone. And when the VIPs come here to
Oh,
basically, then
gosh.
that's when you're like, oh, it's like the Hunger Games, is people
Yes.
watching other people fight for entertainment.
And those are all the people giving the
Well,
money.
And
Yep.
they're these, first of all, they're primarily white. They're these rich white men.
Basically,
who
like
are-
all Americans.
Yeah, all Americans.
Yeah, or
and
Europeans
their
or whatever.
furniture are human beings.
Yes.
And so it's like all of a sudden it goes, oh, so equality doesn't exist at all. You say you care about humans. No, you don't care
Yep.
because when you only say that to make them think they have a chance.
Yes.
So then you can still use them for their own entertainment.
When we were
That's
watching,
exactly what it is.
we were like, "Hey, Mom, look! I made it in a TV show. You see me holding like that footrest right there?
I'm
Yep.
that foot
Like,
Dressed
I'm
as
that
like a
naked
There's my
cheetah,
boobs right
like,
there.
painted as a cheetah.
Jeez, yeah,
So
that was
funny.
so
Right.
intense.
That's your
So,
big break.
so that's kind of the whole crux of it, and really, and we find out in the end, the old man is like in on it too. He's the host. He's
Yeah.
hosting this whole thing.
well, he's one of the started like.
He's the one that
played
started
He
it,
decided to play the game.
and which is crazy. It's like he is the richest guy probably in the whole bunch, but
Yeah.
decides to join back in because that's like the fun of life.
Yeah, and
Life
he was
is
a loan
just
shark.
doing the game.
Interesting.
So his
See,
whole
that's-
his
Right?
whole
I
life,
mean-
all of his riches were made on giving and taking money.
That's why I feel like a season 2 is going to be made because we see Ji
I don't think so.
Hoon
I think it's said-
leaving to do
No.
something
I think it's gonna be like
and going back to the
Firefly.
game.
He's just choosing. No, he's not going to be in the game.
He's
gonna
going
go
back.
try to take it down.
No, he's just because the guy on the phone says like, just get on the plane, like
Yeah,
go
but then
do
he
your
turns
life.
around.
Yeah, he
gave
turns
them their
around
name
because
and
he's
a
like,
date.
"F you, I'm not going to do what you tell me."
No, they said if you want to join the game, say your name and your date of
He's
birth.
not
and he
joining
did.
No,
Yeah.
he's
No,
no,
no, no.
I don't
It
think
was- it was like
that's
a
not
warning.
how I
It was like a
took.
warning.
I took it as just like I'm not going to do what you tell
Like
me.
an F you. He was
Yeah.
like, hey, it's me, by the
He's
way.
like, you don't
and-
run. He's literally, he's like, I'm not your horse. and they're like, just
I
live
think
your
he's gonna
life.
go
Like
back
you're good.
to-
You've got your money.
I think he's gonna go back, not to
I don't
like
know how-
actually win the money,
I don't know
but
how
to
a
take it
second
down.
season could even be good
I
enough.
think the
Yeah.
creators said everything they need to say, and it's kind of like close the book.
Yeah, and I think that
In my
We'll see.
opinion.
I think they left it enough where if they could make a script and it gets approved, they could do a second season. I think it would ruin the first season.
I do
I
too.
don't think they could.
They shouldn't.
They could fully.
I
they
think-
could, but they should.
I think even this season was a little bloated. I think it was like the perfect, like, this is the story encapsulated. Like,
Yeah.
because they even like cut off the storyline of the brother of the cop ended up being the
They
creator,
did,
like the
yeah.
runner of the game. That kind of
Yeah.
like ended that story.
I
and,
think-
that even tells you too. It's like, okay, yeah, the people that you play the game and win, you just become the game runner.
Well, and then you lose on those who love you in this
Yeah.
pursuit of riches.
Yeah.
Is in
It's like,
self.
what are you even doing it for? You're just running the game for other
Yeah.
people to.
I think it's interesting because I think that his friend they were the last two and he like died.
Yeah.
I think I really could have seen the friend turn into like the game runner kind of
Yeah.
thing because he was so calloused and like already like shifting towards not really caring about anything else. It started as this like noble intent of like I'm
Yeah.
gonna pay off of my wrongdoings. I'm gonna pay off my mom's business, stuff, and
Yeah.
and I think it morphed into something way deeper with him. And I think that there maybe was a sense of self like reflection in that last childhood game
Yeah.
where he was like. I don't even know who I am anymore, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like I killed somebody. I killed like an innocent girl for like money.
Well, we talk about it all the time when we talk about winning the lottery. We talk about like, all these rich billionaires that like, it probably did start off as I want to improve my life. I want to improve the life of people around me. And then you just get into this like lust for power and money and, wealth. And then you just become something beyond yourself. Like
the mask, the gold like animal masks was like genius. I was so
Perfect,
uncomfortable with the whole thing.
They
And it was
they
like-
looked uncomfortable.
yeah.
No, I mean
The first thing I saw was like, ugh.
every time you saw scenes with him, I was like, ugh. I felt like
Yes.
God, it was so awful, but it was genius.
This is a great thing that I heard on TikTok is Forbes,
Yes,
Fortune
Forbes
500 magazine, right? Forbes puts out this list of the richest men on earth, whatever, about finance and everything. Forbes does this article about Squid Game, and their number one critique of it was they didn't like the way the rich people were portrayed.
Oh my gosh.
They were like, the rich people are annoying. Like that
Okay,
should have
but
been changed.
they weren't just rich. They're rich, messed up people.
No,
Yeah.
but that's the point.
Yeah,
is
you're
there
like-
is Forbes didn't like the way rich people were being portrayed. They're like, that's not accurate.
not cool.
Oh my
We're actually
gosh.
pretty great people.
Yeah, I mean,
So crazy.
So that was a lot. I was taking notes because again, I feel like I wanna
hear some of
felt like
your
I was
notes.
missing,
Yeah.
but
I
thought
got a note in the very first episode. You go
Yes.
first.
No,
You read
go ahead.
some
No,
of
go
your-
ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
It was so the main guy. Part of his whole like divulge from Grace in his life is he's divorced and his daughter. It's the stepdad is going to take him to the United States.
Yes.
And the grandmother has this moment where she's like pleading to her son, the main character, like, you can't let her go because she will go to America and forget Korean, and
Yep.
how will she will never be able to connect with you the way she can now. And I just thought that was it was like I knew when the moment that happened, I go, ooh, this is going to be about America, the American dream, and how this melting pot of America can actually be such
It's
a
like
curse.
actually
You lose
sterilizing
yourself.
cultures.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh,
not
yeah.
everyone wants the American
Dang,
dream. Like
that's good.
some people are terrified of the American dream.
Which is crazy, this duality of like we're all coming to this thing because we want to be successful and be together,
Yeah.
and like this is where cultures can thrive, when in reality it's like, yeah, she's gonna forget Korean, she's gonna
Yeah.
speak English, like
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to talk to her, like
yeah.
Well, I've met
That's
people
good.
like I've met people like especially like Hispanic families who like their parents are really big on them like using Spanish with their family, and it's all out of like you don't want to lose like your
and that's a
culture
new
and
thing
all that.
because my mom always talks about her dad, my grandfather, when their family came here, because they're Portuguese, that generation was like, you are American, we are not speaking Portuguese, we are speaking English.
Yeah.
Oh,
You are
really?
growing
Yeah.
up here. That was like such a cultural thing. And my dad's grandparents too, like same thing, was like, we speak English.
You change your last
that's so
name to make
Yes.
it easier.
Exactly.
Translate.
And my grandfather was Portuguese, which whatever, like he would get beat up in school because like they were racist towards Portuguese, like of all,
Yeah, which is something we wouldn't even think about now.
like totally. And it's like,
That is kind of interesting about like, again, America, like seemingly this beacon of freedom, and at what cost? And
I think in
there's lots
reality,
of
that's a
downfalls.
pretty new thing. Is
Yeah.
like celebrate your culture instead
Yes.
of like all assimilating to American culture.
Right.
Whoa, that is so crazy.
Isn't
to
that
me.
crazy to think?
Wow.
And then I think the whole thing could be spoken to of like almost this idea of war also.
Yeah.
Of where
Yeah.
we're coming into these places and kind of setting up these, pillars to be knocked over. And then as much as we're, they're putting millions of dollars into it and spending all this money on these people and, sending all this money to make this game happen, at the end of the day, they're viewing it from far away.
Yep.
They're like, for the most part,
Yeah.
these main players in making this game happen aren't actually there.
Yeah.
And they have no connection to the bloodshed. They have no connection, and they're just so
You mean the
disassociated.
rich, the VIPs,
Yeah, the
you
rich,
mean?
the VIPs.
Yeah.
Question, because I didn't watch the version that you watched.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the rich people, when they spoke, did they come? Did you?
They just
hear
had
it as-
normal voices.
Oh, it came.
They were
through as-
speaking
There was
English.
only
and actually
one guy who spoke
He spoke like
like
I
German.
just- I think he
No,
or
he had like
Portuguese or
something of an
something.
accent. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I wanted
But
to
they
say it
all
was
spoke
Russian.
English
They
in
were
the-
also, and
Yeah.
what's more is the front man was also speaking English when he
When he
but
talked to
he
them.
spoke Korean the whole time
until he spoke.
until he was
Yes.
speaking to the Americans and when he was talking on the phone too.
Yes.
He was
Oh,
like, "Hello,
interesting.
like VIPs are coming," Like,
Did anybody, except for me, guess that the front man was the police officer's
Oh,
brother?
yeah.
I didn't see it
I-
coming at all.
I guessed that in what was it? The third.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I
Wow.
was kind
when
of
he
like,
came into play. I was like, that's his brother.
to be honest,
when it saw that he was a winner, I was like, oh,
That's
he's
when
one
I.
of the
That's when I
people.
noticed
Yes.
when he figured out that his brother won. I was like,
So we haven't explained
Yes.
that at all.
Yes.
So there's an aspect of when they get put back into the game after they get that chance to leave. There's a new, person that comes, a new character, and it's this police officer who is searching for his missing brother.
By the way, anxiety the whole time because he like comes in as like a soldier, not knowing anything about how the structure
Yes.
Yes.
works.
That's kind
Yes.
of what was
Ugh.
a little unbelievable for me personally. Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
you're good.
like that's
That
why
he just
I
blended
maybe
so well?
because I didn't see. That's why I didn't see it coming that
Yeah.
that it was the brother because that storyline was a little unbelievable for me.
Yeah.
The fact that he like infiltrates on the boat, he's like beating up guys and it kind of makes sense because all of the workers end up just being like regular people,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
still like I don't know. I wasn't really fully buying it.
Well,
That
and
he
then
was like so
stumbles,
macho and
he
like
stumbles upon the
Yes.
harvesting of the organs
yes, totally.
And he happens to be the one
beat up the guy that was helping out with this. Like
it's just, that was a lot.
The Morse
secret
code
thing.
was a little bit silly too.
But I thought I thought the brother again was I think just like a driving home of like money corrupts because
Yes.
like it's not good enough that he like went through the traumatic games and won all the money, but now he like wants so much. Like he has. Think about it. The brother has all that money, and he still
Yeah.
comes back and like wants to be the game
Yeah.
runner.
because that's the thing that made him important.
yes,
So interesting. It's fun. It's a
And he
weird
won-
play
that's
on
where he got his
purpose.
fortune, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
It's a weird play on purpose, but yeah, I mean, that was a lot.
I want to hear some of your takeaways from
Your
the
notes.
My
episode.
notes.
Yeah,
So I mean, I thought the floor in the control room was pretty telling. Of like, I thought it was
he's literally
it was,
standing on their
'cause
faces.
I think like an easy play would have been like obviously having some sort of wall with all their
Yeah.
faces,
Yeah.
but putting them on the floor was just like wow.
Yeah.
This just shows you the tone of the whole situation.
Yeah.
it did throughout give me Hunger Games vibes.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the levels of like management with the workers was like very class system, obviously.
Yeah.
I thought that there was something about and I know it's specific to this like season of Squid Games
Sure.
or whatever, but the childhood games and like the bloody imagery, there was lots of that, and I also noticed that all the people that were monitoring them were like sitting at like arcade consoles. They looked
Yeah,
like
I
arcades.
noticed that. It was all a
Yes.
game.
I think it's
Yeah.
commentary on like kids watching everything what's going on in the world and like them the arcade
Like the
game being like
disassociation.
we're watching everything, they're kind of seeing everything on a screen.
It
kind of
really
thing.
was the whole thing. Like like making it so that they weren't, real people basically.
Yeah.
And, and so I thought that was like a huge commentary of like, the youth is kind of absorbing what we're putting out into the world, and like
The double click delete.
which does get reinforced by the kid being one of the guys that shoots.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was definitely feeding into that.
Totally.
And I thought like, I know that, like I said, I know that this season specifically was like Squid Games, childhood games, but something about the childhood games crossed with like all the bloody imagery was just like,
It was kind of perfect.
it was like a weird, unsettling, like,
Yeah.
if I don't know, like I said, I think that all kind of fed into this like narrative that, hey, we're letting our kids kind of absorb. I don't know how responsible we're
Violence.
being.
And
Of
also,
course.
these games are all competitive, and you start competing at such a young age.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that was maybe like a deeper meaning in Korea specifically,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yes.
Because I feel like that is true. But I thought I'd be interested to know what, like the perspective of somebody who lives in Korea, because I wonder if that was a deeper meaning. But,
Absolutely. And I thought about that too. Like a lot of times when they were addressing like, oh, that's a girl's game. Like,
Yes.
we need a girl because that's like,
Yes.
maybe we're going to play like one of those girl games
Oh
or
my
something.
gosh,
Like,
that
we need
episode
strong
when it was
men
like
for
we
this
need all
game.
men.
there was a clear
Oof.
like gap in the gender.
Oh,
and
yeah.
again, I don't know if it was lost in maybe
But
the
it's
translation.
it
but
seems like there is like, especially just because like I think that the director is Korean too, right? I think
Yeah.
so. So it like like these pieces of the culture that you do see come out like that, like
yeah, and that was interesting to me because I was like, wow, I don't know that that's strictly like an American thing
No.
necessarily anymore. I mean, there's been lots of progress in that sector,
sure,
specifically in America.
but seeing how
I kind
Interesting.
of wanted.
a lot of
I
these
kind of
like,
wanted them to one of the games to be a girls' game, just to see like if they all knew how to play. Like,
mean,
what is
the-
elastics? I was
Right.
always like, what is elastics?
or
must
like
be something.
Cat's Cradle they even mentioned,
Yeah.
which
Cat's
is like kind
Cradle,
of an
yeah.
American thing.
yeah, I mean, I thought that was good, and I thought it was interesting because everything is so anonymous. Like everyone keeps their mask on.
Yep.
And it was interesting because that was kind of the downfall for the system, right? Is
Yeah.
That's how the detective kind of was able to get in. It's
Yeah.
like nobody knew
Yeah.
who they were, and like even when the guy took his mask off, they're like, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
maybe that's what you look like. I thought there was something there too about that. Like, there's really no way to keep it truly anonymous and safe and equal.
And equal. Well, and I'm thinking about the part when they're crossing the glass bridge, and then
Yeah.
we find out that one of the last guys worked in glass 30 years, and
Yeah.
he's like, I know how to tell these apart. It's like, oh, perfect, they're all going to survive. And
Nope.
then
Shut
the
the lights
games,
off.
the front man just turns the lights off
To make it equal.
Make it like. So what is? I mean,
It
there
was
you
interesting.
go.
But
Like
it also too, that guy didn't like say anything until a lot of people.
he was like
died.
holding it close to the chest because
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I'm in
Well,
the
and
back.
it's
Yeah.
really probably was smart because had he been doing that from the beginning, it would have ended up in him dying anyways. I mean, like,
Well, they would have
like
just
they
turned
would
the
have figured
lights
it out.
off
They would have figured it out earlier
after the
right?
second
But-
glass tile.
So you have, something of an advantage, but the further advantaged people make you like not be able to have that.
But
Yeah.
then you see
interesting.
earlier when that girl character has her lighter and she's using
yeah.
it for the cookie game.
See, that was a lot. Like the fact that she smuggled those in there to smoke is like,
Well, I think that's big culturally too. Like, I feel like a lot of Asian cultures, smoking is a lot more
Of a
common,
thing.
and it's like
Uh-huh.
a commonplace. Where in America we have kind of eradicated it for the most part.
it's
Like
interesting
the
though. I
whole
mean,
place of it.
And just traded it for vaping, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's interesting. I thought that was again. I decided not to read too much into that because it seemed like just kind of like a
Yes.
a weird
It's
detail.
like a character.
But I thought maybe it could be like a play on like addiction. Like you can't even in the most extreme
Yeah.
situations you can't give up.
Of course.
something
I
like
think it was
smoking.
probably just a
it's-
character detail.
So it's funny you brought
figured.
her up because I kind of mentioned earlier off camera, but I guess a lot of the translation, like we were saying, gets lost in the
Subtitles.
the content of the show gets lost in translation a little bit.
Yeah.
Specifically that character, the crazy woman, right?
Yeah.
A lot of her lines
Grandma.
she speaks in. I saw this also on TikTok. Hey.
Hey, TikTok, thanks.
Big shout out to TikTok for being the. It's this girl that's like, yeah, I was a student in Korea. I'm fluent in Korean, and a lot of her lines are kind of slang and like she, not like proper Korean basically, but like we lose it in the translation. Like
Because
a
it's
lot of
proper translation.
right. And so a lot of her like dialogue was like way like made a lot more sense. She has a line in English. It's something like, I'm not very smart, but I can figure it out. And in reality, the Korean line, the translation is more along the lines of, I was always smart, but I never got to study. And so apparently this is a thing in Korea, like this, like, and that's why he makes a big deal about, the one guy got to go to school and study. Like
It's
that's
such a
also
fine line of who gets the opportunities.
getting to be able to have an education is such an important thing in Korea. Like, and so that's her line is like, I'm smart, but I just never got to study. Like I have street smarts basically is what she's saying.
But then translating that to English, it's like there's no way for us to say that except
we miss
for
it. Some of the subtleties
smart.
in language.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting too because she says a thing at the very beginning where she goes,
the baby.
yeah. And so in Korea, you like in like Korean culture, you don't name your baby until they're a year old. Oh. And so she has this line where she goes,
I never got to name
I
my
never got to
baby."
name a baby, which is like alluding to that she has a baby
young
that
child.
is under
Yeah.
a year old. And even though they never, like, who's to say, because they kind of play her off as, like, a liar and a cheat and will
Yes.
say whatever. But if you believe her, it's this, like, how desperate you have to be, like, okay, beyond everything, I went back and I'm still deciding to come back and risk my life.
I was gonna say they said it 2
they
times.
say
When they
it.
all come back,
Wonder if
they
she
look
got
at
to
her and
name her
goes,
baby.
"Yeah." She goes, "Oh, that's the one who didn't get to name her
Yeah.
baby."
Mhm,
Yeah.
something like
Wonder
that.
if she named it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then here's my really like I have an ending theory about the entire Squid Games,
Oh.
and then I also have
Bring it on.
one last like little thing, and I told you it's surrounding the old man, which as
Yes.
we know,
Oh, I have
is
theories too.
is the guy who like he's part of it, and you really feel bad for him for the whole thing, and the main character really like looks out for him, and then he ends up dying in game
Sure.
4 or whatever, and then you find out he's actually the guy who kind of started all of this.
Not only did he not die, but he's the creator of the game
he's like the missing
yucky.
Yeah.
person, and
that
so,
chose to then go on and be a part of the game again.
And
Ooh,
so,
but I have so many things to say
yes,
about that.
yeah.
interesting.
But go
So
ahead, John.
I for sure thought that missing mask was gonna be the guy who was running the game. He just like decided to.
Not
I
wear it.
thought maybe he was like pretending to be the showrunner so that he didn't have to like hang out with them.
Yeah.
But it turns out obviously not.
Yes, there's prestige.
But I thought it was an interesting commentary, and here's what I think. And again, it's kind of a stretch.
Okay.
I think he kind of embodies the idea of like celebrity or rich people in politics, and here's why. Because it's not good enough that these people are like famous or that they're rich and like to live their lives. It's almost like the idea of being, like he said, being bored,
Yeah.
and wanting to like feel again, almost in a weird way.
Wow.
I think it's like celebrities and rich people in politics, because it's not good enough that like they're well off in America or whatever, that they like want to be a part of
They like join back in on the game.
by controlling the game. You know what I'm saying?
But he really wasn't controlling the game.
He wasn't controlling it,
He was
but-
legitimately playing the
Yeah.
game.
And so I again, it's not. That's why I'm saying it's not a foolproof theory. But I thought it was
But
kind of
I
a commentary.
think,
a little
I don't
bit.
think it's wrong. I think that's
Yeah.
an
Because
because
interesting
I was
take
like,
on it.
like why I always think about that with rich people. I'm like, why would you want to go into politics? Like you have money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
you kind of made it. So why would you want to come back and deal with
Yeah.
all
Because
the
they wanna be in the
stress
nitty-gritty.
of,
That's a
like-
great take.
He
I
says
know what I'm
such
saying?
an
Yeah.
like at the very end, because that's like one of the big spoilers, right? And
Yeah.
so at the end, the guy who won is living his normal life. He refuses to touch, the majority of the money.
Mm-hmm.
He comes home. His mom has died. His daughter's in America. Like he basically has
Yeah.
already lost everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
That he was working for, and he gets a card saying to meet him at this place, and the old man who he thought had died. Who was like someone that he had made this great connection with and taught him so many life lessons.
What was it? His gongu?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like your number one, your best
Yeah.
pal.
Yes.
Turns out to be the mastermind behind this horrific thing. And the old man says this thing, and I thought it was so good. And he said, like the problem with being rich is it gets to the point where you have so much money can't, like, no matter what you buy, like you can't buy happiness still. And I think it's the two scales, right? Like talking about the middle class. You get rich enough, you can't buy happiness. And, if you're poor enough, there's no amount of money you can get that is going to buy you the life of happiness that you
Yeah,
are
he says
striving for.
being extremely rich is a lot like being extremely poor.
Yes.
Because there's nothing you
Very
can buy that makes
interesting.
you happy. And it talk about like that the true happiness comes in that like grind of the middle class.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that is like starting to develop in other countries where America has like, I think it's starting to expand, if not like the American dream of the middle class is starting to dissipate because,
Yes.
you know, I mean, let's just be real. Like the four of us, there will never be a time in which we work a 9-to-5 job and afford, you know, a 5-bedroom house and, you know, cars and then retire at 45, you know? It's just never going to happen.
Which was like, you know,
Which are my
The goal.
grandparents
the process.
did,
Yeah,
you
of
know?
course. Same.
And I think it was so interesting too when he decided to come back, and this is on me, and I don't know how you guys got this.
Yes.
I think I'm watching my grandmother die right now. So for me, I was like, wow, he's saying these things that I think are so interesting. This idea of he's dying, he knows he's dying, he has this brain tumor, he has however much left to live, which he even says at the end that is true. Like that's and at some point we watch him die. And he's like, I'd rather die feeling something. And, you know, you see him, like, age in this game.
Yeah.
Like, there's a part where he can't get out of bed and he gets sick and he wets the bed. And it's, like, the, like, embarrassment of dying.
But it's feeling.
Right? And he's like, you know, and the reason he doesn't go to, like, host the end of the game is because he's like, I knew I would not have nearly as much fun watching it as I
That's
was
like what
living
got me.
it.
He's
that.
like, I'm just like, you know what? You're right on. Like, the rush of living, like you said, like doing that grind is like, that's life, like getting through it.
Yeah.
Looking back, I feel like I should have known that he was in on it or like something was off when they were playing marbles and he switches and he's like, how does it feel to like trick your friend?
Yeah.
But I think
It's like he didn't
I
actually forget.
but he, I think he did.
But
I
then he
think
flipped back and said, you lied.
Yeah.
So it's like, was he actually?
I think that could be like
Either way.
something
Either
about
way.
Alzheimer's. You know, I'm sure that
Right.
it comes in out like
Where
that.
yeah.
I mean, also, and you have to realize too, like there was such a high stress situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The kid's not gonna like put together like, wait a minute.
And that's what that it kind of caught me off guard. I'm not gonna lie. I liked the ending, but I feel that it kind of was a different thing than what it was getting at.
Yeah.
I do too.
Because I know like respect for your elders is such a important
in that
thing in
culture,
Asian
yeah.
culture as well. And so like, I don't know. He just had such a good, and maybe this is just me grappling
good
with like,
old man
no,
character.
like he's got to be
No,
a good
he's not him.
force, you know. But in reality, it is. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It fully caught me off guard when I
was like-
found out he was alive. I was kind of like,
it was selfish energy.
Okay.
Like he was obviously doing it for himself, but he was like imparting wisdom onto the main character. So you're kind
Yeah.
of like conflicted in that way.
But I think you can say that for most political and like celebrity figures. Going back to your thing is like how many people, you know, we talk about like we'll go to like Mark Twain or Steinbeck or something where you're like these famous, you know, historical figures, or even you could argue like Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
And then in the, you know, in the context of now, it's like,
Yeah.
well, you know, they changed the world and empowered us in so many ways, but also we're kind of racist.
yeah,
Like, is
they weren't
that,
perfect.
you
Yeah.
know, like, and then you're like, oh well, where do we stand on that?
Here's my big theory
Let me hear it.
Ooh, okay.
about just Squid Games existing. I think it is such a reflection that like America's kind of like fooling themselves, and here's
Yeah.
why. One, my dad pointed it out, and it was really good, really good, like, you know, kind of
Assessment.
conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said like it's pretty amazing that like this is a Korean film.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
like huge. Like
Yeah.
the whole world
Yeah.
is watching. He's like, and he said, you know, we're so used to Hollywood being like the center of media. And he's like, but this is like a Korean film. And if you think about it, Parasite was another
Yes, I was
another
gonna
film,
say.
and
Yeah.
that captivated the world as
Yep.
well. And so I think one, that's interesting to note that like other countries are like one doing stuff and they're captivating the world's attention, which is totally fine. I think that's the way it should be. But also, this film had America's number. Like
Oh, yeah.
like
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Like it painted it made the American dream look
Yes.
so stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing that I'm like, we got to watch out here, people.
And that
like,
was kind of perfect in the casting too. Is
Yeah.
like all of the rich, like we were saying, like all of the
Yes.
rich VIPs were
Yeah.
like basically like American
They're
dudes.
like American D-bags too.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes.
like drunk guys on the golf cart or golf course who
Yeah.
are just like betting, you know.
But they also brought the North Korean in there too.
What do you mean?
About it was the girl's
girl.
parents. She's
Oh, yeah.
like they were all
She was a
bagging on
defector.
her, and they were like called her a communist and like all this stuff about North
Isn't
Korea.
that was an interesting thing too. Like
Yeah,
like one
commentary.
of those things that just broke through a little bit. Like
Yes.
that you're seeing parts of the culture. Like you're from
That's-
you're from
that's
the
Yeah.
north.
it was
Yeah.
just
Huge
like
thing.
eye-opening because I think specifically right now, and we won't go into it too much, of course, that like America is so self-absorbed
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
its own issues that like we need to step back and assess
Yeah.
how the world is seeing us.
Because
You know what I'm saying?
even in that situation, like what's happening in North Korea is a tragedy.
Yes.
And people in the
Yes.
South should have nothing but like joy for people that defect and come
Yes.
and come to South Korea.
Yeah, Yep.
But
can
it's
get
like
out.
they almost look down on them. Like they almost are like, oh, you're a defector. Like, oh, so you just came from the North, huh? Like this
Yeah.
attitude towards it, which is like not dissimilar to the attitude we have towards refugees.
yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
We're
It
like,
is-
oh, like they're just coming over to this country for a free ride. It's like
Yeah, I had this
It's like,
whole
no, but they
realization.
work the
they're
hardest because
coming
they
from
got
a
here.
war-torn country. Like
It was like
Yeah.
it was one of those things where I kind of was I didn't put it together and weirdly until we started talking about the film
Sure.
right now, and I was like, this is kind of like a warning shot.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for America to go, hey, you
Yep.
guys are not that great.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like and let me show you how stupid it looks.
Yeah.
To be
I
a rich
I
American.
kind of feel it's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, and that's how we've been for hundreds of years.
But it was
man.
weird seeing, and I agree, but it was
Yeah.
weird seeing another country
Yeah.
recognize it so well.
Sure.
Because I always thought it was like, from the inside, we were the ones going, "Oh, this country is like such a
Yeah.
weird spot," you know. But then to see like an entirely different culture, an entirely different country go, "Hey, America's in a weird spot," and they are so like they don't know
Yeah.
how dumb they look.
And South
you know?
Korea is one of our allies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so interesting.
And
to
in a
me.
lot of ways, their pop culture mimics American pop culture
Yeah.
a lot.
They're-
Like,
Yeah.
I think that the two are merging a lot more. K-pop rising
Like
in
they
America.
brought
Yes.
up movies too, like
Of
American
course.
movies. Like, oh, you haven't watched this American movie?
sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I thought the whole it existing to me was just such a weird piece of like, hey, like they got our number a little bit.
So the
Yeah.
question is, would you do the Squid Game?
Heck no.
no,
But I'm also not
Wait.
$10 million in debt.
I mean, you could win $40 million.
No.
For playing a little red light, green light, a little crack the cookie.
No.
let me tell you why.
A little crack the cookie, you play
No,
that
it
game.
wasn't even the games that for me was the worst part for me. It was like the
Dying?
The strobe light scene.
the inside the sleeping area when it got really dark. I was like, I can't handle that. Like
my
the idea
gosh.
of not sleeping
when
and
they
feeling
left
terrified.
when they left the knives on the table at the end and everyone was like,
Oh man,
I mean, that
keep-
was just like a blatant, like, we're
Yeah.
manipulating you, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
just the same as the eggs thing was.
Yes.
Like, where they only give them so much
I
food.
just feel like the players didn't put it together that first time, the food thing, and then once they realized like, oh, we can kill each other and nothing happens to
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
They're like,
we get money.
that's the whole thing is like, they're like, it's equal. And then when people die, all that happens,
Right.
like
You
people
get more
literally get
money.
murdered in cold blood.
It's
Like,
like
and
the
it's
good of humanity, right?
Yes.
Like, is
the
there any
imagery
good humanity
though
left?
of like them bringing in that coffin
The
when that guy
coffin.
got beat up and killed,
Yes.
and they just like put him
And
in
they
the
just
box,
take him away.
and then like everyone's
And
like,
it's a
you can
bo- it's
kind of
like a gift
nobody
box.
says anything, and you just everyone's thinking, wait, we can do that now.
yeah.
You know
Isn't
what I'm saying?
that, like, that right there is
Genius.
like they're pitting the working class
That's good
against
writing,
each
though.
other.
That's
I'll tell you
good
what.
writing.
And furthermore, because it really is like the working class isn't just the players of the game; it is the workers.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
the people running the game, and they're literally pitting them against each other,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people that just are trying to make it in society.
The whole thing is like equally like interesting as it is just kind of made me
Bleak,
sick.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I remember like when it ended and you kind of like as soon as we got the monologue from
Yeah.
the old man, I was like,
Was there any glimmers of hope for you? Because there were a few for me.
well, it sucks because I mean, I know that like he is he'll eventually be with his daughter, and that was kind of his main goal. But just sucked that mom died. You know,
I
just
feel
kind of
like
was
you're-
piling on there.
I feel like you're missing the main part of the monologue of the old man at the
Which is
very
what?
end,
Which is
it's he bets him one last time the game
Yes.
that the drunk man in the snow on the floor will, when midnight
Somebody
strikes,
will-
no one will help him.
Yeah.
And humanity is dead.
And not
at
to
the
trust
very
anyone.
End, right before midnight,
Yeah.
right before the old man dies,
Yep.
some like his wife or whoever comes with the cops to come find him. They find
Yes.
him, and the guy says, "Someone cares.
Yeah.
There's someone still cares."
And so he has that
looks and
spark
he's-
of
he's
hope.
dead, and he goes, "I know you saw."
Yep.
Well, I think too, also him not spending the money so rapidly was also kind of nice, because I was like, if he gets out and just starts like becoming a rich person, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be like
And then he
so
asked the
annoyed.
bank for a loan. He goes,
Yes.
"Will you
He
He goes,
spare
can you
me?"
spare me $20?
And then they're like,
Yeah.
yes, because they want his
want his
business.
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course. Right here, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, in that same vein of like, oh, there's still some good in
Yeah.
the world. It's the girl,
Oh, sorry.
the marble game, with the two girls.
Oh, that was so sad.
And she's like, it's this girl that has literally been through hell, right? She
Yeah.
watched her dad kill her mom.
She got out of jail.
had to
and
murder
then
her own
joined the
father, went to
game.
jail. Yeah. And it's like she's gone through all of that and still is like, okay,
You
I'm
have
going to
something to live
sacrifice
for.
myself for you.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
I thought it was such like a really good self-assessment to go like, hey, she's got her brother and she wants to like make a better life for her brother, and she's like, I don't really have anything other than
Yeah.
like what I would want, but like,
Yeah.
Yeah, she has
but
more
like
to
she
live
has
for.
more, and I thought that was such an interesting weighing of the of you know of
So
who
sad.
deserved it more, which
So
was
sad.
sucked.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
So
Great
rough.
series though.
All right, well, if you haven't watched Squid Game,
Go watch it.
Go
There's so
watch
much
it.
Yeah, we did a
like,
lot.
I didn't,
Oh,
realize, I
assessment.
didn't realize that this was going to be the What the Squid
Yeah,
Game episode,
yep.
but
And it is.
I'm happy we talked
Yeah.
about it because this
Yeah.
show is chock full of imagery that just
yeah.
is so long lasting, and highly recommend
Yes.
watching this show. I mean,
It'd-
if you haven't
and-
already watched it,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah,
listened
and if
to
you
this
listen
podcast.
to this and you go watch it afterwards,
Give it a
let us know
rewatch.
if we're
I think
right.
I'm going to, honestly.
too.
I
And
watched
I should
I
watch
watched
it
the
in
last few
Korean.
episodes
You need-
with
yeah, you
Cara
need to watch it in
again,
Korean.
and it just you gotta give it a watch.
I gotta hear.
Because their voice acting, like their
Amazing.
acting, is so compelling.
Yeah.
Even you're reading it on the bottom, like listening to them speak is like so. Oof, can't stress it enough. Gotta watch it.
Yep.
Okay, what are we doing here? Is this the podcast still?
Yeah.
What are you guys feeling like tonight? We'll Texas.
No, that was last
Wait
week.
a minute. Hold on.
Gosh.
Should we go in our costumes?
I'm gonna have to rip this costume out. Look at this. I'm like
You have to cut it off of you.
I'm bursting forth. I know I'm just gonna
Alrighty.
have like sweat right here. I just know it. Okay.
Here we go.
Top reactions.
That's kind of perfect.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
monkey noise. Shocked.
Oh,
World record.
oh my God!
Oh, jeez. It's loud.
Yes! Oh!
See, I feel like how could you have a reaction when you're doing that so many times? You know,
Because you've done it so many times, it's the
I
first
just
time
be
that you
like-
get it.
I'd be like, hey, sweet, got it.
look at the camera.
Cut the tape.
Gosh.
Cut the check. The noise he makes when I close his mouth, dead. The ending is out of pocket. Crying.
That's cute.
I gotta say, I listened to What the
Oh, shit.
Podcast this week, and this is the most jarring part of
Good.
listening to the podcast.
Good. Really?
Is
The
hearing
random
us
noises.
watch TikToks,
Oh, really?
but not seeing them. I'm like,
Good.
oh, must
Oh my
be
gosh,
nice.
this is
Must
like
be
Brian's
nice.
worst
You
nightmare.
need
Look
to
at the-
use the.
Getting up in the morning, thinking about so many things. I just wish
Wow.
they could
These
fit.
little
There's a deeper
kids
meaning
in
here.
Horrific mask.
Look at the Chucky in the background.
Two children in
so
Michael
funny.
Myers
Mask
masks.
with a Chucky
One
doll
in
in
a
the
rocking
background.
We
chair.
might have to
Yes.
watch Halloween tonight.
Oh.
It's kind of.
Oh, okay.
It's not that scary, to be honest. Cool.
The caption of this one was, "Is there anything in this car that's not
You know,
broken?"
like old school scary, where
Yeah.
it's like the movie we watched last week, same kind of thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Is there anything in this car that's not broken?
I saw this one.
Oh no. Oh. Oh.
Oh my god.
That's rough.
I feel that.
That is rough. Is that your car, Annie?
My car's in the shop. Yeah, it is my car.
Oh shoot!
It is in the shop.
Suddenly,
All the
my
candy.
surprise,
It's really loud.
into the mountain.
So cute.
Graveyard smash.
It's caught on with a flash.
Cute. What a cutie.
He did the monster mash.
My love
That is so
in the
cute.
castle east.
You got a
Is that your dog?
bone. No.
Looks like your dog.
Honestly, it feels like.
Did you do the one? Yes, you did. I sent this one in.
This is Ryan's submission. Cat with laryngeal
Paralysis?
paralysis has super deep meow.
No way.
No.
No.
Wow.
Voice is a little deeper than most cats.
Imagine not knowing that cat like had that and just like
I'd be
coming
like,
across the
"Whoa,
street and
okay."
be like,
Or like being home alone and just hearing, "Whoa." I'd be like,
I beg.
what?
I saved the best for
Bohemian
last,
cat
everybody.
city. Ooh, very cat
I want to turn this
themed.
down. I have a feeling it's going to be blaringly loud.
Nah.
Please.
Okay.
Staying up all night, race round the house at 3.
This is so ugly.
You my backside after nudging you to pet me. Obsessed with flies, a box half my size fits me.
This is terrible.
I'm just too ill. You now attend to me. Open the door, I'll come. Then I'll go. Feed me now. Don't be slow.
I hate their mouths.
Stop you in the bathroom. Privacy don't matter to me.
It's a lot.
To me. Mama,
I hate everything about this. I'm just going to say.
just killed a mouse.
Ryan was done with that one.
That was the clip.
No.
You say that for
Their
laughs?
Yes,
little
I
mouths
did.
were
It's funny.
terrible.
Wow.
Funny.
Good episode, guys.
Hey, you know what?
Nice.
What the Squid Games, episode 47. Coming up on 1 year. So,
Wow.
That was 48, wasn't it?
47. 46 was last week.
Last week was 47.
Was it?
I'm just going to be honest.
Really?
Yep.
No. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Well, that's just simply
Wow.
not true.
It's what the podcast.
But yeah, it was 47.
Last week was. This is 48.
What does that say?
46.
Ah.
Maybe you mislabeled them. Think you might have. Eh?
Maybe I did.
Wow.
You ever think about that?
Wow.
35, 36. Oh,
Next week will be What the Fight Club.
Oh,
Oh, here we go.
Come on,
you're
Ryan,
not going to
come
be
on,
able to do
Ryan.
it. The seam.
You can do it. You
do
can
from
do
the
it.
bottom.
The ASMR.
it wants to so bad.
Ryan trying to rip the shirt. Wow. That is some strong material. Oh,
No, it's like cross-threaded.
what the heck? Arr. It's like you have a run in your tights now.
Any thoughts over there?
I'm trying to see. No, 40.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Got him.
Well,
Okay,
if you
technically.
watch this episode,
Well, technically, what?
comment down below who your favorite costume was. Your favorite Halloween costume for
If
this
you're
week.
still watching by this point.
Thanks.
True. Thank you. Ryan, you gonna send us off?
I'm just, what you think over there, pal?
You're right. They were mislabeled, so I apologize.
What a great way to end the episode. Honestly, what a great way.
Whatever. You know what?
What an
Respectfully,
awesome. Okay.
you know exactly
We'll
what I'm
see you
gonna
next
say.
week on
What the Podcast?
This is the way.